Hello, everyone. Today are talking about what successful coaches never tell you. And there are things successful coaches say publicly, and then there are things that they don't say out loud. They talk about mindset, they talk about strategy, they talk about confidence and consistency, but there are a few realities behind the scenes that rarely get mentioned, not because they're bad, not because they're wrong, but because they challenge the narrative that most people want to believe. So today I'm going to tell you what successful coaches almost never say publicly, but absolutely understand privately. But first, they don't work as hard as you think they do. And I know that one maybe stings because people assume the highest earners must be just grinding nonstop. But if you look closely, you'll notice something different. They're not doing more, they're doing less strategically. They're not answering every DM manually, they're not customizing every proposal. Maybe at first, maybe at first they do that, right? But then once they master it and they start getting the income coming in, they delegate those kind of things out. So they're not reinventing their offer every month. They're not personally chasing every lead. They've built systems. And once those systems are in place, the effort shifts from repetition to refinement, right? So here's the second thing that they rarely say. They don't get paid for their time. I just let that sink in. They don't get paid for their time. This is a really hard one for people to understand because in our society, we are trained to be workers. We're trained to be employees. And I always talk about this. I talk about this constantly. Our society teaches us to go to school, get good grades, get a good job, work, 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 do, trade your time for money. That's what employees do. Where um, business owners or entrepreneurs, right? If they've got the right systems in place, I call it shifting from employee mindset to empire mindset. Totally different mindset. And it's if you've never been shown before, how would you know? Right? If our society, our television, our teachers, our parents, our friends, our family, everybody's been trained and set up to be an employee or to be a worker. So how would they know? And what tends to happen is when somebody goes to create a start a business, they end up creating a job for themselves. So then now they're not only doing all the work, but they have to do all the things behind the scenes. So what smart entrepreneurs do once they've got those systems, right? They don't trade their time for money anymore. They get paid for their positioning and they get paid for the outcomes that they provide. So two coaches can work the same number of hours. One makes maybe 5,000 a month, the other makes 50,000 a month. And it's not effort, it comes down to clarity. So clarity about who they help, clarity about the results that they get for their clients, clarity about why their solution is different and why it's a good fit for that person. Most struggling coaches, they just try to prove their value during the sales call, typically. But successful coaches, they communicate their value effectively before the call even happens, which leads to the third thing that they don't openly admit. Most sales are decided before they even have a conversation with the person. So when someone shows up already certain, the call feels really easy, right? When someone shows up confused, the call feels heavy and it takes a long time and there's a lot of convincing that has to be done. And none of that should be happening on a sales call. And the hard truth is that if your calls feel like you're convincing, your marketing isn't doing enough of the work. Successful coaches design their content and systems to create certainty in advance. It's not luck. It's not hoping, praying, guessing, right? It's structure, it's strategy. And now here's one thing that they don't rely on. They don't rely on motivation. They rely on systems. I say this over and over and over again. Most people think high earners wake up inspired every day, motivated every day, all this stuff, right? But they don't. They really don't. They simply have removed as many daily decisions as possible. It's like creating a habit, right? You wake up, you wake up, you brush your teeth, you don't even think about it, right? You wake up, you do kind of the same things over and over again. What successful coaches do is they design it, they create their routine so that it becomes habits where they don't even have to think about it. So follow up is automated, booking is automated, onboarding is automated, content themes are pre-decided, messaging frameworks are structured. They're not just winging it. They're operating inside of an ecosystem, which brings me to something even deeper. They think like empire builders, not employees. Does that make sense? It's that shift. An employee mindset asks, how much time will this take? And then they tend to, like, base their price on that as well. Even, pretty much every coach, whether they're in relationship space, wellness space, spiritual healing space, money space, whatever it is, um, they're thinking of it for trading time for money. And I'll say, how much is your program, or how much do you charge for what you offer? And they'll say either, $100 an hour, $200 an hour, $500 an hour, whatever. Or they'll say, I charge $2,000. And I'll say, well, how did you come up with that? And they said, well, I figured it takes me about 10 hours to get the result for them. And $200 an hour, it's still trading time for money, right? They're not thinking about the outcome and what value the outcome or the result that they can get for that person really costs, or really, is it even costs, like what it costs them to not solve it, right? Or not, what it costs them to not have it, right? That's how we determine the price. So that's what I call an empire mindset. So an empire mindset asks, how many times will this pay me back? Okay, that shift changes everything. Employees trade time for money, empire builders trade value for money. They trade and energy is just about, it's like money equals energy, money equals value, right? It's how much value are providing. Employees think in hours, empire builders think in outcomes. Okay, so if you're still pricing based on how long something takes you, you're really limiting your ceiling, right? Because we only have so many hours in the day. We only have so many hours in the week. Our biggest commodity is time. You can make money all day long, any which way. There's so many ways to make more money. You can't make more time. It's not infinite. Money's infinite. Time is not, right? So successful coaches price based on transformation, and they design their delivery, like how they deliver what they offer, in a way that doesn't require them to be everywhere all the time. Um, Now let me tell you something else. Okay. They rarely say they don't take every client. Okay. When you're desperate for revenue, it feels logical to say yes to everyone. But successful coaches understand that misaligned clients create friction. Friction drains your energy. Drained energy reduces clarity. Reduced clarity lowers positioning, and positioning is what allows premium pricing. So they protect their standard because, or their standards, because they understand long-term leverage, right? It beats that short-term cash. And if you've got a predictable system that you can call on to know that there's the next client, the next client, the next client coming, right? By running ads to a landing page, to a strategic, masterclass or webinar or whatever, to a call, and then onto enrolling somebody from that call, right? It's a system and it's a repeatable process that runs 24/7 on autopilot. So it's a predictable process. You know you're gonna have your next client the next day, so it's okay if that one person that you met with wasn't a big fit, right? Let's say you meet with 10 people a week, right? That's maybe 10 hours of calls, right? Let's say 2 of them sign up and you're charging 5,000, that's $10,000 a week. That's $40,000 a month, right? So it's leverage, right? And then you can automate as much of the business process to deliver the results in the quickest, easiest, best way possible, that also doesn't take a lot of your time, but gets amazing results for your clients, allows you to go deep with them to really make that impact. Does that make sense? Type in the comments if that makes sense, or give me some examples of, or some things that are coming up for you when I say all this stuff. So Another thing, that they don't talk about is that most of their breakthroughs didn't come from more hustle, okay? They came from better constraints. So instead of asking, "How can I do more?" They ask, "What can I remove? What can I, make more efficient? What can I, tweak," right? To just make it more efficient, more, I guess efficient is probably the best word, but how can I simplify, right? Simplify this to get the best results. So removing manual follow-up, removing unnecessary calls, removing unclear messaging, removing offer confusion, removing tech chaos, right? When you remove friction, performance increases naturally. Like, what's that bottleneck in your business? What do you think that bottleneck is right now in your business? Is it you? Is it your messaging that needs to be refined? Your, is it your ads maybe if you're running ads? Is it your posting, right? If your messaging is off, if you're not clear on your offer, right? If you can't actually even before that, if you're not clear on your value and what makes you different than the next person down the street, right? Or than your competitors, like why should they go to you? So really getting clarity on your value and then being able to communicate effectively so that it gets the right people finding you, calling you, and paying you consistently, right? If that's off, if you're not clear on your value, you can't be clear on your offer. If you can't be clear on your offer, you can't be clear on your messaging. If you can't be clear on your messaging, it just goes on and on and on. So you could be running the best ads and just putting money down the toilet or putting posts up and getting 0 comments, 0 people reaching out, um, because your messaging is off or and maybe because your offer is not clear or whatever. Maybe you have some imposter syndrome going on. That's really common. So there's a lot of factors that really go into it. And so you have to remove that friction. You have to remove that bottleneck. Make sense? And here's the one final one. They don't scale. Okay. Successful coaches don't scale by adding more effort. They scale by increasing certainty, right? Certainty, confidence. So certainty in their message, like I said, certainty in their process. It's a big one too. Certainty in their positioning. Okay, positioning. Why you? Why not the competitor? Your process. How do you deliver this? Right? If it's all over the place, if everything's done manually, whew, that's time consuming. That's, overwhelming and get burnt out pretty fast like that. So that's why their launches feel smoother. Okay, their sales calls feel calmer. Their income feels more stable, consistent because their business isn't depending on daily heroics. It's depending on structure. It's depending on strategy and systems, right? If you're clear on how to set all that up, great. If you're not, get someone to do it for you or to help you understand, right? Find a coach that can just help you get it done because the cost of not knowing, a lot of people think that the biggest cost in their business is marketing or, you know, different tech things or whatever. They think that those are the biggest costs. But the biggest cost in your business is really not knowing. If you don't know things, if you're not clear on these things, if you're not clear on how to get the right ready to buy people, finding you, calling you, and paying you, if you're not clear on that strategy on how to do that, that's the cost of not knowing. And if you're wasting months, right, of not knowing. You're paying this huge price to the university of not knowing, right? People go to university, they spend tens of thousands of dollars to know how to do something so that they can get paid for it. Same with your business. If you're not generating the 5, 10, 15, 20, 30,000, whatever, 50,000 plus per month in your business because you don't know how to do it, what's it worth to you, right? Find a coach, pay a coach 10, 20 grand to set that up for you so that you can generate 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a month return, right? It's return on investment. So anyway, if you've been thinking I just need to work harder or I just need better clients or I just need to post more, I want you to consider something else. What if the real shift isn't effort? What if it's leverage? What if it's systems? What if it's clarity? What if it's thinking like an empire builder instead of an employee? Successful coaches don't shout these things from the rooftops, but they operate from them every single day. So, if this hits you, I want you to be honest. Which one of these felt most true for you? Was it the systems, the positioning, the mindset shift, or the fact that most sales are decided before the call? Drop that in the comments because I read and reply to every comment. And if this resonated, don't stop here because in my next video, I walk you through the exact systems that let you stop doing everything manually from follow up to booking to onboarding so that your business starts working without you having to be everywhere. So click on that next video here, wherever it is, and I will break that up step by step. All right. And always just, put your comments in the chats and let me know. Let me know what you would like to what you'd like me to do a video on next. If you're stuck or you're spinning your wheels, um and you're just not clear on like why is something not working? Why are you not getting those consistent months every you know, consistently? Why are you not making those the consistent income that you want to be making? If you're not hitting those income goals, then let me know in the chats, and I would love to do a video for you um, about that. Okay, let me know what you want to know. Where are you stuck? Where are you spinning your wheels? Where do you feel like you're just throwing stuff up on the wall to see what sticks and it's not working? Tell me, and I'll do a video about it. All right. So have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.